Good afternoon, everyone. The scope of my report is on roles and functions of local government units. Local government units consist of provinces, component cities, highly urbanized cities, municipalities, and barangays. All of the contents on my report are from the Local Government Code of 1991. First, we will talk about the role of the province. The province composed of a cluster of municipalities or municipalities and component cities, and as a political and corporate unit of government, serves as a dynamic mechanism for developmental processes and effective governance of local government units within its territorial jurisdiction. Officials of the provincial government. There shall be in each province a governor, a vice-governor, members of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, and other appointed officials. These appointed officials include provincial treasurer, provincial assessor, provincial accountant, provincial engineer, budget officer, planning and development coordinator, provincial legal officer, administrator, health officer, social welfare and development officer, general services officer, a provincial agriculturist, and provincial veterinarian. In addition, the governor may appoint a provincial population officer, a provincial natural resources and environmental officer, a provincial cooperative officer, a provincial architect, and a provincial information officer. The appointment of the provincial population officer, however, shall be optional in the province. Next is the governor. The provincial governor, as the chief executive of the provincial government, shall exercise such powers and perform such duties and functions as provided by this Code of 1991 and other laws. First, the governor shall exercise general supervision and control over all programs, projects, services, and activities of the provincial government. Second, the governor shall enforce all laws and ordinances relative to the governance of the province and the exercise of the appropriate corporate powers provided for under Section 22 of Local Government Code, implement all approved policies, programs, projects, services, and activities of the provinces. And number 3, the governor shall initiate and maximize the generation of resources and revenues and apply the same to the implementation of development plans, program objectives, and priorities as provided for under sections 18 of this local government code, particularly those resources and revenues program for agro-industrial development and countrywide growth and progress. Number 4, the governor shall ensure the delivery of basic services and the provision of adequate facilities as provided for under Section 17 of Local Government Code of 1991. And last is The governor shall exercise such other powers and perform such other duties and functions as may be prescribed by law or ordinance. Next is the functions of the provincial vice governor. The vice governor shall be the presiding officer of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan and sign all warrants drawn on the provincial treasury for all expenditures appropriated for the operation of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan. Subject to civil service law, rules and regulations, appoint all officials and employees of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan except those whose manner of appointment is specifically provided in this local government code. Number 3, assume the office of the governor for the unexpired term of the latter in the event of permanent vacancy as provided for in Section 44, Book 1 of this local government code. And the vice governor shall exercise the powers and perform the duties and functions of the governor in cases of temporary vacancy as provided for Section 46, Book 1 of this code, local government code. And number 5, the vice governor shall exercise such other powers and perform such other duties and functions as may be prescribed by law or ordinance. Next is the Sangguniang Panlalawigan or Provincial Board Member. The Sangguniang Panlalawigan, the legislative body of the province, shall be composed of the provincial vice governor as presiding officer, the regular sangguniang members, the president of the provincial chapter of the Liga ng mga Barangay, the president of the Panlalawigang Federasyon ng mga Sangguniang Kabataan, the president of the provincial federation of sangguniang members of municipalities and component cities, and the sectoral representatives as members. As provided in the Local Government Code of 1991, the powers, duties, and functions of Sangguniang Panlalawigan as the legislative body of the province shall, number 1, to enacting ordinances and resolutions to appropriate funds for the programs and projects of the provinces. This includes to approve ordinances and pass resolutions necessary for an efficient and effective provincial government. And number 2, enact annual and supplemental appropriation of the provincial government and appropriate funds for specific programs, projects, services, and activities of the province, or for other purposes not contrary to law, in order to promote the general welfare of the province and its inhabitants. This includes to generate and maximize the use of resources and revenues for the development plans, program objectives and priorities of the province as provided for under Section 18 of Local Government Code. And number 3, approve and pass ordinances and resolutions necessary for the functions of the provincial government. And last is grant franchises, approve the issuance of permits or licenses, or enact ordinances levying taxes, fees, and charges upon such conditions and for such purposes, intended to promote the general welfare of the inhabitants of the province and pursuant of or to this legislative authority. And next is city. First is the role of the city. The city, consisting of more urbanized and developed barangays, serves as a general-purpose government for the coordination and delivery of basic, regular, and direct services and effective governance of the inhabitants within its territorial jurisdiction. Officials of the city government. There shall be in each city a mayor, a vice mayor, Sangguniang Panlungsod, members, and other appointed officials. These appointed officials include the city treasurer, a city assessor, a city accountant, city budget officer, planning and development coordinator, city engineer, health officer, civil registrar, a city administrator, a city legal officer, a city veterinarian, a city social welfare and development officer, and the city general services officer. Those are the elected officials. Next is the city mayor. The chief executive powers, duties, and compensation. The city mayor, as chief executive of the city government, shall exercise such powers and perform such duties and functions. First is he or she shall exercise general supervision and control over all programs, projects, services, and activities of the city government. And next function or responsibility is to enforce all laws and ordinances relative or in relation to the governance of the city and in the exercise of the appropriate corporate powers provided for Section 22 of the Local Government Code. Implement all approved policies, programs, projects, and services and activities of the city. And number 4, initiate and maximize the generation of resources and revenues and use this for implementing plans. Programs includes programs, objectives, and priorities as provided for under Section 18 of Local Government Code of 1991, particularly those resources and revenues programs for agro-industrial development and countryside growth and progress. And last is the city mayor shall ensure the delivery of basic services and the provision of the adequate facilities. Next is the powers, duties, and functions of the city vice mayor. The city vice mayor shall be the presiding officer of the Sangguniang Panlungsod and sign all warrants drawn on the city treasury for all expenditures appropriated for the operation of the Sangguniang Panlungsod. Number 3, the subject to civil service law, rules, and regulations appoint all officials and employees of the Sangguniang Panlungsod. And number 4, assume the office of the city mayor for the unexpired term of the latter in the event of permanent vacancy. And the city vice mayor exercises the powers and performs the duties and functions of the city mayor in cases of temporary vacancy as provided in the local government code, and also exercise such other powers and perform such other duties and functions as may be prescribed by law or ordinance. And next is the functions of the Sangguniang Panlungsod or City Council members. This Sangguniang Panlungsod, the legislative body of the city, shall be composed of the city vice mayor as presiding officer, the regular Sangguniang members, the president of this city chapter of the Liga ng mga Barangay, the president of the Panlungsod na Federasyon ng mga Sangguniang Kabataan, and the sectoral representatives as members. These three sectoral representatives, one from the women, one from agricultural or industrial workers, and one from other sectors like the urban poor, indigenous communities, or disabled persons. Powers and responsibilities of the Sangguniang Panlungsod. First is approve ordinances and pass resolutions for an efficient and effective city government. This includes, for example, to maintain peace and order by enacting measures to prevent and suppress lawlessness, disorder, riot, violence, rebellion, impose penalties for the violation of said ordinance. Example. And second is to the Sangguniang Panlungsod shall generate and maximize the use of resources and revenues for the development plans, programs, objectives, and priorities of the city as provided in under Section 18 of Local Government Code, with particular attention to agro-industrial development and city-wide growth and progress. Example of this is to approve the annual and supplemental budgets of the city government and appropriate funds for specific programs, projects of the city. Next is enact ordinances granting franchises and authorizing the issuance of permits and licenses upon such conditions and for such purposes intended to promote the general welfare of the inhabitants of the city and pursuant to the legislative authority, of course. So the next is to regulate activities relative or in relation to the use of land, buildings, and structures within the city in order to promote the general welfare of the said purpose. And last is to approve ordinances which shall ensure the efficient and effective delivery of basic services and facilities. Next is the municipality. First is the role of the municipality. The municipality, consisting of a group of barangays, serves primarily as a general purpose government for the coordination and delivery of basic, regular, and direct services and effective governance of the inhabitants within its territorial jurisdiction. The officials of the municipal government. There shall be in each municipality a municipal mayor, a municipal vice mayor, Sangguniang Bayan members or SB, and other appointed officials. These appointed officials include municipal treasurer, secretary, municipal assessor, municipal accountant, municipal budget officer, a municipal planning and development coordinator, a municipal engineer or building official, a municipal health officer, and a municipal civil registrar. Those are the appointed officials of the municipality. Next is the municipal mayor. The chief executive powers, duties, and functions. As a chief executive of the municipal government, shall first exercise general supervision and control over all programs, projects, services, and activities of the municipal government. And second, duties and responsibilities. Responsibility is to ensure that all laws and ordinances relative to the governance of the municipality and the exercise of its corporate powers provided for under Section 22 of this code, Local Government Code of 1991, implement all approved policies, programs, projects, services, and activities of the municipality. And number 3, shall initiate and maximize the generation of resources and revenues, and apply the same to the implementation of development plans, programs, objectives, and priorities as provided for under Section 18 of Local Government Code, particularly those resources and revenues programs for agro-industrial development and country-wide growth and progress. And one of the functions and responsibility is also to ensure the delivery of basic services and the provision of adequate facilities. This is provided under Section 17 of Local Government Code. And also, last is to exercise such other powers and perform such other duties and functions as may be prescribed by law or ordinance. Next is the municipal vice mayor. The powers, duties, and responsibilities shall be the presiding officer of the Sangguniang Bayan and sign all warrants drawn on the municipal treasury for all expenditures appropriated for the operation of the Sangguniang Bayan. Appoint all officials and employees of the Sangguniang Bayan, and assume the municipal office of the municipal mayor for the unexpired term of the latter in the event of permanent vacancy, as provided for in Section 44, Book 1 of Local Government Code, and shall exercise the powers and perform the duties and functions of the municipal mayor in cases of temporary vacancy, and also exercise such other powers and perform such other duties and functions as may be prescribed by law or ordinance. Next is the Sangguniang Bayan. The legislative body of the municipality shall be composed of the municipal vice mayor as the presiding officer, the regular Sangguniang members, the president of the municipal chapter of the Liga ng mga Barangay, the president of the Pambayang Federasyon ng mga Sangguniang Kabataan, and the sectoral representatives. 3 sectoral representatives, 1 from among women, 1 from agricultural or industrial workers, and 1 from any of the following urban poor, indigenous peoples, persons with disabilities. Powers and responsibilities of the Sangguniang Bayan. The Sangguniang Bayan, as the legislative body of the municipality, shall approve ordinances and pass resolutions necessary for an efficient and effective municipal government. Number two, generate and maximize resources, the use of resources and revenues for the development plans, program objectives, and priorities of the municipality. This is provided under Section 18 of this code, the Local Government Code, with particular attention also to agro-industrial development and countryside growth and progress. And also, grant franchises, enact ordinances authorizing the issuance of permits or licenses, or enact ordinances levying taxes, fees, and charges upon such conditions and for such purposes intended to promote the general welfare of the inhabitants of the municipality. And also to regulate activities relative to the use of land, buildings, and structures within the municipality in order to promote the general welfare and for the said purpose. And last is to shall approve ordinances which shall ensure the efficient and effective delivery of the basic services and facilities as provided under Section 17 of Local Government Code. And next is we have the barangay. The punong barangay, as the chief executive of the barangay government, shall exercise such powers and perform such duties and functions. For efficient, effective, and economical governance, the purpose of which is the general welfare of the barangay and its inhabitants pursuant to Section 16 of this Local Government Code. The punong barangay shall enforce all laws and ordinances which are applicable within the barangay, and negotiate, enter into, and sign contracts for and in behalf of the barangay upon authorization of the Sangguniang Barangay, and maintain public order in the barangay, and in pursuance thereof assist the city of or municipal mayor and the Sangguniang members in the performance of their duties and functions. D is to call and preside over the sessions of the Sangguniang Barangay and the Barangay Assembly, and the vote only to break a tie. E, upon approval by the majority of all the members of the Sangguniang Barangay, punong barangay shall appoint or replace the barangay treasurer, the barangay secretary, and other appointive barangay officials. F, organize and lead an emergency group whenever the same may be necessary for the maintenance of peace and order, or on occasions of emergency and calamity within the barangay. G, in coordination with the Barangay Development Council, prepare and the annual executive and supplemental budgets of the barangay. H, the punong barangay shall approve vouchers relating to the disbursement of barangay funds. I, punong barangay shall enforce laws and regulations relating to pollution control and protection of the environment. J, the punong barangay shall administer the operation of this Katarungang Pambarangay in accordance with the provision of this code, the Local Government Code. K, exercise general supervision over the activities of the Sangguniang Kabataan. L, ensure the delivery of basic services, and it is mandated under Section 17 of Local Government Code. of 1991. M. Conduct an annual palarong barangay which shall feature traditional sports and disciplines included in national and international games in coordination with the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports. N. Promote the general welfare of the barangay. And last, O. Exercise such other powers and perform such other duties and functions as may be prescribed by law or ordinance. Next is the Sangguniang Barangay. The legislative body of the barangay shall be composed of the punong barangay as presiding officer and the 7 regular Sangguniang barangay members elected at large and Sangguniang Kabataan chairman as members. Powers and duties and functions. First is to enact ordinances as may be necessary to discharge the responsibilities conferred upon it by law and ordinance and to promote the general welfare of the inhabitants therein. B or second is enact tax and revenue ordinances subject to limitations imposed in this local government code. 3. Enact annual and supplemental budgets. 4. Provide for the construction and maintenance of barangay facilities and other public works projects chargeable to the general fund of the barangay or such other funds actually available for the purpose. E or number 5, submit to the Sangguniang Panlungsod or Sangguniang Bayan such suggestion or recommendation as it may see fit for the improvement of the barangay or for the welfare of the inhabitants thereof. 6. Assist in the establishments, organizations, and promotion of cooperative enterprises. And 7. Regulate the use of multi-purpose halls, multi-purpose pavements, grain or copra dryers, patios, and other post-harvest facilities, barangay water works, barangay markets, parking areas. And also the other functions is to hold fundraising activities for barangay projects without the need of securing permits from any national or local office or agency. Authorize the punong barangay to enter into contracts in behalf of the barangay subjects to the provision of local government, and exercise such other powers and perform such other duties also, as provided by the ordinance or law. Functions of the Sangguniang Kabataan. First is to promulgate resolutions necessary to carry out the objectives of the youth in the barangay in accordance with the applicable provisions of this code. B. Initiate programs designed to enhance the social, political, economic, cultural, intellectual, moral, spiritual, and physical development of the members. C. Hold fundraising activities to proceed of which shall be tax exempt and shall accrue to the general fund of the Sangguniang Kabataan, provided however that in the appropriation thereof the specific purpose for which such activity has been held shall be first satisfied. D. Create such bodies or committees as it may deem necessary to effectively carry out its programs and activities. E. Submit annual and end-of-term reports to the Sangguniang Barangay on their projects and activities for the survival and development of the youth in the barangay. F. Consult and coordinate with all youth organizations in the barangay for policy formulation and program implementation. G. Cooperate with the appropriate national agency for the implementation of youth development projects and programs of the national level. H. Exercise such other powers and perform such other duties and functions as the Sangguniang Barangay may determine or delegate or as may be prescribed by law or ordinance. Salamat sa pakikinig.